YouTube calls your content inauthentic. That same platform was built on what your content created. The signals, the patterns, the data that shaped the tools now used to judge you. It extracted what it needed, then it dropped you without a word. That is not irony. That is the architecture. In 2025 and into 2026, YouTube demonetized channels at scale, flagging them as inauthentic content. The wave hit two kinds of channels: faceless channels, no human on camera, and presenter-led channels, real faces, known voices, years of audience, same automated sweep, no warning, no public rules, no real path to appeal. The platform has a policy. It does not have a definition, and it is enforcing the policy anyway. Creators call it unfair. Analysts call it platform control. Thinkers call it something older, a fight over authorship, value, and power. This is not just about creators. It is about who gets to define what is real, what is original, and what deserves to exist. The answer was already written, decades before AI existed. In 1967, Barthes declared the death of the author. What YouTube keeps alive is not the author. It is the name on a contract, preserved just long enough to absorb the liability. Researchers at the University of Southampton found that AI-made faces were rated as more human than real human faces. We have crossed a line we did not notice crossing. Seeing is no longer believing. It was never a perfect system, but it was ours, and the confusion does not stop with faces. The label inauthentic content is being applied to 5 categories that have almost nothing in common, except that the algorithm cannot tell them apart. First, fully automated AI pipelines, no human input at any stage. Second, AI slop, low quality, high volume, no creative intent. A Capwing study found 278 such channels, combined 63 billion views and around $117 million in annual ad revenue. Third, mass-produced human content, same template, hundreds of times, zero creative range. Fourth, AI-assisted channels, where a creator with real judgment uses AI tools for speed. And fifth, presenter-led channels, caught because their pattern looks like the others to the algorithm. 5 categories, 1 label, 1 system that cannot tell them apart. YouTube claims 10,000 human reviewers handle appeals. Reports suggest the work is largely outsourced, reviewers with minutes, not hours, to assess years of output. The Buck Stop is one such case. Cooking videos filmed alongside a dog. Same kitchen, same tripod, dozens of episodes. Not AI, not fake, just consistent. The algorithm read consistency as automation. That distinction does not exist to the system. When a system enforces a rule it cannot define, what it produces is not governance. It is judgment without criteria, dressed in formal language. Benjamin argued that a work of art carries an aura, its existence in a specific time and place. But a deep fake is a different problem. And a deep fake is fraud, by taking a real person's face and voice and placing them in a false context. A leader saying something they never said, an actress in scenes she never filmed. Benjamin worried about the aura of the artwork. The deep fake attacks something older, the person as evidence. That is not an aesthetic crisis. It is an epistemic one. Heidegger called the force that reduces everything to the average Das man, his word for the impersonal they, a norm that governs without announcing itself. The algorithm is Das man in code. It reads your pattern, and it judges the pattern, not the person. In 1967, Roland Barthes published The Death of the Author. He argued that the author as source of meaning is dead. The writer draws from an immense dictionary of signs that existed long before them. My every text is a weave of echoes. The author is a myth we built to make language into property. Foucault went further. The author is a legal invention, formed when speech became subject to punishment. Someone had to be held to account. The author exists not to protect ideas. The author exists because capital needs a name on a contract. YouTube does not keep creators alive out of love for art. It needs a name, a body that absorbs the risk while the platform takes the value. Is originality, then, quite empty? Not quite, and this is where the debate stops too soon. Kant defined genius as the talent through which nature gives rules to art. The genius creates new rules, does not follow them. Under this view, AI is not genius. It recombines patterns from what already exists. But the human creator who follows the winning formula is also not creating new rules. They are copying a pattern with a face in front of it. So who is the genius here? There is a distinction this debate almost never makes. This one matters. Falsification pretends to be what it is not. An AI channel that fakes a human host, that builds trust to sell or deceive, is falsification. It causes real harm. Illustration is transparent about its own nature and expands access. A teacher who uses AI to show a concept they truly understand is not faking anything. They are bringing to screen what once required a studio, a crew, a budget most people never had. What architects do with design tools, what scientists do with models, what filmmakers do with effects. Nobody asks if their work is authentic. And for the first time in history, millions of people have access to creative tools once limited to those who could pay. Benjamin saw this coming. He argued that mechanical reproduction had a freeing side. It broke the wall between maker and audience. AI is the latest chapter of that story. The question is not whether AI creates. The question is whether the platform can tell falsification from illustration. Right now, it cannot. In a past episode, we saw how AI systems make financial decisions about your life based on signals you cannot see, for reasons even the engineers cannot explain. The wave of removed channels is that episode, running live. We built a system to maximize creative value, and like every system built around a single metric, it turns everything it touches into the same thing. Nick Chernicek mapped this in platform capitalism. YouTube is an ad platform with the logic of a lean platform. The creator takes all the risk. The platform captures the value. The terms of service grant a permanent license to use creator content, including for its own systems. The damage cap, $500 or the past 12 months of revenue. But the pressure behind the wave runs deeper than platform logic. The major advertisers who shape YouTube's content rules are not neutral buyers of attention. Many belong to the same global media groups that have watched their core audience move online over 2 decades. At once advertisers on YouTube, rights holders within it, and rivals for the same attention. Their ties to the platform predate the creator economy. In many cases, they share a roof with the very studios and labels that sell ads on that same platform. They share a clear interest. Premium ad space should belong to known corporate names, not to a solo channel competing at a fraction of the cost. The inauthentic content crackdown serves this interest on both fronts. It cleans the ad space. It squeezes the creator middle class. The CMS tier of owned and operated accounts gives these partners a different relationship with the rules. YouTube does not publish the criteria for this. The creator takes the risk. The conglomerate keeps the shelf space. What Hollywood debates in guild talks, China has already turned it into state policy. In early 2026, ByteDance launched C-Dance 2.0. Character consistency solved. Production costs down from 10,000 to 2,000 yuan. Hundreds of AI animation episodes per day in cities like Chengdu. Meanwhile, in the West, Netflix released El Eternauta in April 2025. The first major production to put AI-generated footage on screen as final content. A building collapse in Buenos Aires. rendered by AI, done 10 times faster than traditional VFX, at a cost that would not have been possible otherwise. Cedence already delivers what Veo 3.1 still cannot match, consistently and without errors. El Eternauta closed the debate about whether AI can reach cinematic quality. The question now is who runs the pipeline. SAG-AFTRA and the Motion Picture Association have filed suits over likeness rights. The Oscar Academy holds its line. A human must remain at the heart of the work. In where that heart ends and the algorithm begins is the question in every active deal. The Western creator is caught between legal caution and a market that is not waiting. AI slop is a real problem. Hundreds of thousands, some estimates say millions, of machine-run channels flooded the platform. The Guardian confirmed nearly 10% of YouTube's 100 fastest-growing channels published only AI content. But this flood was sold. Course sellers promised passive income through AI, took their fees, and left. The crackdown came, the channels fell, the damage spread to creators who had nothing to do with it. And as Devin Nash showed, the factory model for viral content is largely human too. Clipping farms, copied formats, made-for-reach content with no original thought. That content passes the filter because it has a human face. The platform's standard is not authenticity, it is pattern. For those caught, rightly or not, the process goes on. Under current YPP policy, a demonetized creator must keep posting 90 days of content for free on a platform that has not said what they did wrong. Keep feeding the system. We will decide later if you deserve to be paid. In a past episode, we looked at mutual control. Creator and platform shaping each other in a constant loop. The creator trained the algorithm that now judges them, not out of trust, out of survival. We also looked at a pattern we called evaluation awareness, a system acting one way in public, another way behind closed doors. YouTube issues statements about clear criteria. The algorithm runs in the dark. And that is not a clash, it is the same design. The EU's Digital Services Act requires large platforms to explain the main factors behind their systems. The opacity has a legal expiry date. But for now, who decides? The advertiser decides. Originality is the cover. The algorithm is the tool. The opacity is not a flaw, it is the product. Without it, the terms of the deal become visible. The category inauthentic does not describe the creator. It describes the relationship. And this bond was built with work you gave, freely, because the only other option was silence. In 1967, Barthes declared the author dead. Not the man, but the source of meaning. YouTube keeps the name, not the author, the signature on a contract. The body, kept just long enough to absorb the liability. But here is what no contract captures: the human layer, the care, the real presence, the lived experience that no metric can copy. Not because machines cannot mimic it, because its value comes from the fact that it is real. The audience built over years of showing up is not there for the format. They are there for the bond. That the algorithm cannot measure, and that is the only thing it cannot take. The inauthentic question was never about content. It was about control. Next episode, we partially open the tender reason creative process, a window into how AI-assisted workflows work in practice, where they extend what a creator can do and where they hit their own limits. The question is not whether AI creates. The question is who is asking, and why this field and not the others. When we are at the beginning of something, and the beginning always looks like a threat, the sources and references behind this episode are in the description. This is the AI saga, Science, Soul, and Silicon, and the Philosophy playlist. New videos every week, because the algorithm is not waiting for the philosophy to catch up. And understanding the architecture is not enough, but it is where everything else starts.